Life during the Great Depression is categorized as one of the worst economic downturns in the history of the industrialized world, lasting from 1929 to 1939. There is no one single event that caused the Great Depression, but rather a cascade of events that all fueled the incident. October 29th, 1929, is the day known in our country as Black Tuesday. Following a scare and some rumors about the bank's stability, investors traded nearly 16 million shares on the New York Stock Exchange in a single day. Billions of dollars would be lost forever, and investors lost everything they had. Following these events, the country would fall into what is known as the Great Depression, the longest-lasting economic depression that will last a full decade. Just 3 years into the Depression, stocks were worth only about 20% of their value during 1929. By 1933, nearly half of America's banks had failed, and unemployment was almost at 15 million people, or 30% of the workforce. November 14th, 1930. The first of 4 major bank runs occurred in Nashville, Tennessee. Bank runs occur when people lose confidence in their bank due to rumors and rush to take their money out. Only a percentage of the money put into banks are actually kept in the bank. In order to get these people their money, banks had to liquidate loans and/or sell assets, sometimes at very low prices to come up with the necessary cash. Had these banks had the ability to mobilize bank reserves and money, people could get their money back and banks would not have to sell their assets and potentially have to close down. This would have been tremendously effective for larger banks in larger cities. Due to the rising difficulty for families to stay afloat, the creation of soup kitchens and thrifting quickly came into play. Soup kitchens served mostly soup and bread. Soup was economical because water could be added to serve more people if necessary. At the outset of the Depression, Al Capone, the notorious gangster from Chicago, established the first soup kitchen. He started it because he wanted to clean up his shady image. Capone's kitchen served 3 meals a day to ensure that everyone who had lost a job could still get a meal. March 4th, 1933. Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected as the 32nd President of the United States. He promised to relieve and help Americans recover from the Great Depression, which people so desperately needed. During Roosevelt's first 100 days in office, Roosevelt actively worked toward regaining Americans' confidence in the economy. He declared a bank holiday, where all banks closed until they were cleared through federal inspection. He began delivering nationwide radio addresses regularly, where he spoke directly to the American people. These were called fireside chats.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
My friends, I want to talk for a few minutes with the people of the United States about banking, to talk with the comparatively few who understand the mechanics of banking, but more particularly with the overwhelming majority of you who use banks for the making of deposits and the drawing of checks. I want to tell you what has been done in the last few days and why it was done and what the next steps are going to be. I recognize that the many proclamations from state capitals and from Washington, the legislation, the Treasury regulations and so forth, couched for the most part in banking and legal terms, ought to be explained for the benefit of the average citizen. I owe this in particular because of the fortitude and the good temper with which everybody has accepted the inconvenience and the hardships of the banking holiday. And I know that when you understand what we in Washington have been about, I shall continue to have your cooperation as fully as I have had your sympathy and your help during the past week. First of all, let me state the simple fact that when you deposit money in a bank, the bank does not put the money into a safe deposit vault. It invests your...
Important programs were also put in place during his first 100 days that contributed to his New Deal. These included the Agricultural Adjustment Administration, AAA, the Public Works Administration, PWA, the Civilian Conservation Corps, CCC, and the Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA. Roosevelt focused a lot of his attention on the 3 R's: relief, recovery, and reform. The exact date when the Great Depression ended is much debated by historians and economists. Most people put the so-called start of the end at the beginning of World War II in 1939, due to the fact that the economy was fueled and grew in preparation for World War II. There is no video that can sum up all the events of this disaster, but these were some of the crucial occurrences that caused catastrophe we all call the Great Depression.